To order.
That's another one.
Okay.
If you need any information about tonight's meeting, it's all at the door. You can go to rockridgepublicschools.org. Please silence your phones and stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let the record reflect that Nicole Dahl is not here tonight. She did call me or text me and said that she wouldn't be here. She's on vacation. Good for her.
Yeah, it's bigger.
Also, with that being said, is there the treasurer's report? Is there any takers to report that? Anybody want to give the treasurer's report when it comes up?
I'll do it.
Okay. All righty.
Bear with me. I'll do it.
Okay, so when it comes up, you'll do that.
Yep, I got it.
At this time, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So
Do
move.
you want to make your changes first?
Oh, yeah, you have,
Okay, here we go.
okay.
Here we go. Any,
Make your changes first, Bill.
okay, let's go ahead and add and delete if we have, okay? So I got the Vida agreement that's in front of you is going to be put in at 9.14. Okay, under the administrative items. Okay. We are, okay. Okay. 9.2, okay, the Ellers. We are going to move that to 4.05 in reports, just before Bob Streeter. Okay. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I would like to pull 601, 603.
Hang on just a minute. 6.01.
I think that's under 8.
Hang on.
Yep,
So you're talking, what is it?
these are policies
Policy 601.
for just for discussion
Okay.
if we're still gonna,
601.
Why we discuss them, if you're just gonna want to discuss them, we can just,
Yeah, we'll discuss them at the time.
okay.
But we'll put some notes so that we are going to discuss them. Okay, so 601,
603,
603,
618, 24,
618, 624,
06.
so policy 806. There you go. Got it.
That's it, thank you.
Right. Okay, is that it?
Spencer's got something here.
9.3, I think we're going to move up right after 9.2.
9 point,
So
hang on. 9.3? Oh, so 9.3 is supposed to be part of that? Or
right after that. Yep.
right after,
Ellard.
right after Ellers? Okay, that's all right. So we're gonna add that to
4.06?
4.06, yep.
That was 9.3, right?
9.3 will become 4.06.
Okay.
All righty. With all those changes.
So moves with all the changes.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, item 3, recognition of visitor input. We have Ms. Royer. Okay. Welcome. Come. I also like that.
I have my little one with me, so I
Okay,
apologize.
that's fine. I'd like to welcome everybody, by the way, to the meeting on our first meeting of August. Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, right?
You know, the letter I sent over was quite comprehensive. The first 4 pages are really highlighting what my concerns are with the athletic program. So thank you for the opportunity to have a conversation with you all regarding our experience with Rockbridge Public School Athletics. My name is Crystal Royer. I am a graduate of the former Evelyn Gilbert School and recently returned home to raise our children. Like you and the amazing staff within this district, I wear many hats. I'm a woman, a mother, a wife, a volunteer, a coach, an advocate, and also a child of poverty. My background includes an adverse childhood experience score of 9 out of 10. Statistically, this means I should be walking a very different path than I am today. I believe I was able to step out of that cycle of scarcity because of the support, guidance, and care shown by educators and coaches in my developing years. I realize and honor the impact that a human can have on another. It is my hope that our developing children never have to question their worth or belonging when it comes to placement of any sort. In 2 different seasons and with conversations with many other stakeholders, from coaches to players to graduating athletes, I listened to these developing minds question themselves as they weren't chosen for that team. With true Wolverine spirit, the families that were a part of that stack team or that all-star team or that preferred team rallied around those athletes and moved forward with integrity and excitement, making the best out of the season. It is really my hope that this conversation and awareness brings about change to this newly consolidated athletic program. I believe that it's really easy to identify problems in a situation and much harder to offer solutions, and that's what I'll do today. I really hope that a comprehensive student-parent survey is sent out. I know the kids are surveyed often, so I don't know how productive this would be. I also suggest an in-person sign-up with an opportunity for introduction, connection, an outline of time and financial commitments for players, hosting any booster clubs or volunteer opportunities to help strengthen the community and the team. I further recommend that these booster club meetings not be held at establishments that only serve alcohol. I know that we have strict requirements for our student athletes, and I think that same standard should be held to the coaches and advisors and people involved. And in that team meeting, there would be a strict outline about team placement and the various teams that would be offered.
How much, can you wrap it up there?
Oh,
Chris?
I'm on my last line. I appreciate the individuals that they dedicate their time, skills, and experience to our development teams. This commitment can change the trajectory of a life.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you. All righty. Any more people want to speak? Okay, well, we're moving on to reports. 4.05, Greg Crow. Ellers, you are up.
Nice to see you all. It's been a little while, but it's been a long, successful road for you all. Just exciting to be back up to the arm wrestle. Both Shelby and Jody. We get the privilege of coming to tonight's meeting. So I'm the big winner. Nice to see you all. You've got a couple documents in front of you. Resolution regarding the sale of $13.57 million in school building bonds. The balance of the authority that the voters approved, and you have a sale day report in front of you. It sort of summarizes all the financial results. As you're probably aware, we took this on that $13.57 million. Just like we've done on the previous bond sales where we've had competitive sales of bonds and basically put them out there for the market and banks to bid on the bonds and help you to secure the lowest interest rate that we can. So if you want to turn to the first page, there's a summary table and some summary information. At the top, you note that the Standard & Poor's affirmed your single A underlying bond rating. And we took the bonds to the market with that rating, but also the state AAA rating, because your bonds are credit enhanced, so the state is basically guaranteeing your payments, which allows you to have that AAA rating when you sell your bonds. Market conditions and the rating and all the things surrounding the debt issuance resulted in 9 bids. So that's a nice number, nice amount of interest in the bonds. And the low bid was 3.83%, 3.84% from Raymond James and Associates out of Tennessee. And if you remember in the pre-sale report, we had estimated a month or so ago a market rate of about 4.25%. And so it's below that, which is always nice. We build in a little cushion in case rates come up between the time we present that initial estimate to you and a sale day. But even the highest bid, you can see that on the middle of the page, at 3.94 was still below that pre-sale estimate that was shared with you last month. There's a summary of the financial information, and just a note on the bottom that the lower interest rate is going to result in just under $400,000 less in interest payments by the taxpayers of the district. And you received a premium bid that was higher than we had anticipated a month ago. And that premium is about $500,000 more. And that all can be deposited or will be deposited in your construction fund. So slightly more funds for costs at a slightly lower cost to taxpayers. So that's a nice result as well. If you want to flip to some of the attachments, the first one is the detailed bid tabulation that shows all of the bids. Again, the low bid was from Raymond James out of Tennessee, and they had a group of other banks listed there. You see some common names like Morgan Stanley participating in the underwriting of the bonds. And then there's a list on the next page, on the bottom of that page and the next page, additional participants or additional bidders that were not the low bidders. Then on page 3 of the attachments, you see what we call sources and uses, basically laying out all the resources you get from the bonds, what you have to spend to issue the bonds, pay the underwriter's discount, and we've got one capitalized interest payment that comes out of bond proceeds, leaving you about $13.8 million for project costs. You see that in bold in the middle of the page. And then there's a couple of eye chart tables, which are amortization tables of the principal and interest payments on the bonds. And on page 4, and then on page 5, that principal and interest schedule laid out against your existing debt service levies. And it might be easier to see if you look on page 6. It's laid out in graphic form to show how we're attempting to keep the tax rate level and over time, and actually from a tax rate basis slightly below the 2022 tax rate. And then on page 7, there's a tax impact chart. There's obviously the levy associated with this new bond issue. So an additional tax levy will be assessed to pay the principal and interest payments. And I think you talked about this previously, but relative to the tax impact that was discussed with the voters during the election, if you remember, the interest rates were so low at the time that we sold the initial bonds that taxes were much lower than what the voters had agreed on when they voted yes for this bond issue and this project. So this does increase taxes, but not to the level even that was approved by the voters during the election process. So still lower than what was discussed at that time. And then the last attachment is the detailed rating information. And there's a lot of information there. I would just point to the bottom of page 10 that kind of gives you a little bit of sense for where your risks are. So under the outlook, it talks a little bit about the potentials what could cause your rating to go down, what could cause your rating to go up. But at this point, really, the rating, your interest rate is locked in, and it would really only be future debt issuance that would benefit or be hurt if your rating went up or down. So, but the bid that we received today is locked in when you take action tonight for the life of the bonds. So, happy to answer any questions about the report or about the resolution itself. There's a fairly long resolution in your packet. But most of the language is boilerplate that relates to the payment schedules, the levies for the payments, and so that's summarized in the sale day report. So, any questions?
Can you explain what a premium bid is and how it works? And you said we got $500,000 to the good.
Say that again.
The premium bid, could you explain that? The premium bid,
Correct.
could you explain what that is and how it works?
Sure.
And that gives us another $500,000.
Sure. So when you sell bonds, you basically offer the underwriter the ability to set the interest rate, but also some of the terms as long as they meet your conditions. And so in many cases in today's market, underwriters are offering what are called premium bids. In other words, they're paying you more for your bonds than you're selling the bonds for. You're not permitted to issue more bonds than was authorized. So we reduced the par amount to the 13,570 authorized, but then that additional premium payment comes as proceeds to the district and is deposited in the construction fund.
It's from the winning bidder?
Yep.
Yeah, winning bidder.
And so if you, and we don't detail it for each of the bids, but each of the bidders would have offered a different premium, different purchase price for the bonds. You can see for Raymond James, if you look at the bid tabulation on page 1, the price they offered was $14,306,000. See that in the top, kind of middle part of the page. And so that's where you see the premium reflected. And then when we calculate the true interest cost, we take into account the value of the premium offset by the cost of the interest. So someone might offer you a lower interest rate, but if they offer you less premium, that plays into the true interest cost.
Okay. Questions for Greg? Okay, thanks, Ray.
Thank you.
And I, of course, every time I hear it, I say this, but I mean it. I really enjoyed the opportunity that we've had to work with you all. It's always fun to see your faces, and I appreciate the fact that you continue to work with us and choose to work with us. We don't take that for granted, but we're happy with the partnership and the relationship we've had over the years. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Next, 4.06 LT.
Need a motion?
Oh,
Yeah.
are we going to approve this right now, or wasn't it down the?
Yes, you should.
Okay, all righty, so
I'll make a
It's a
motion.
resolution, so.
the resolute, so we make a
I'll make the motion.
motion by Director Yuhan,
Support Reardon.
support by Reardon. Any more any discussion?
Yes, you looked at me, yes, I did.
Wow.
I just wanted to reiterate that I'm not in support of this without the voters' approval. There is nothing in the legislation that changed that said that we couldn't ask for voter approval, and I think that we should and not just bond without our taxpayers' consent, so.
Okay. All right, so by roll call vote. Director Reardon,
Aye.
Director Lager,
Aye.
Director Westby,
Aye.
Director Yuhan.
Yes.
Director Eddie, yes. Director Sarkin.
No,
Motion passes 5-1. Okay, 4.06 LTFM.
Thank you. Very quickly, I wanted to move the LTFM. Am I okay here, Mike?
Yeah, just kind of step behind, you can step behind there.
The LTFM, this is the application we do annually that goes on the levy that the board will approve in December. But wanted to put it here, just so you know, with what you just decided on with the bonding could affect our LTFM projects for the next 10 years. So what we did on this one was just roll over what we had on last year's plan, knowing that there's going to be several meetings coming up with the facility committee, deciding what you're going to do with this bonding and things like that. So we can change our LTFM plan at that point, but for now, we do have to have something in for the levy that you will be approving. So I just rolled over the information into this next 10 years. But it can be updated as we go. So that's what you see before you right now, is the projects that you had approved a year ago for our long-term facility.
Okay. So we need a motion to approve the LTFM plan, .06.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Director Yuhan, support by Director Lotiger. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion passes 5-0. Okay. 4.1, Bob Streeter update, Mr.
Kind of sounds like Oz coming here.
You hear us okay, Bob?
Can you hear me?
He's frozen.
Yep.
Yep.
You can hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Okay, great. Yes, I can. Good, it's working, it's wonderful. So, is it okay to begin?
Yes, go ahead, Bob.
Okay, Chair and board members, my name is Bob Streeter, and I'm hired by the City of Evelyn to undertake a small area plan for the redevelopment and potential reuse of the Evelyn School campus. And tonight, what I'd like to do is spend 5 minutes and point out a couple of highlights of the work that's been done so far. So you have in your packet the complete presentation that the City Council received on the 25th, which is a summary of what we found in phase 1. And if you recall, this process has 4 phases. The first phase is background. The second phase is establishing a vision and goals for the site. The third phase is to look at development concept alternatives. And then out of that, one is chosen, or a combination of the alternatives, and then implementation occurs in the 4th phase. So what I want to do is highlight for you the primary points I think you may be interested in. And then if you have any questions about any of the information, I'm happy to answer any questions. So let me just say that if you recall, in phase 1, we want to know, is there anything about the site, its physical characteristics, that would make it very difficult to develop or redevelop? And the answer is no. We did find some issues with the title. For example, the land under Franklin Elementary is not owned by the school district, according to the title company. It's owned by an individual. This is the same issue that the school had with, I think, the junior high property, and the city undertook a quiet title action, and that's been resolved, and we think the same thing will be needed there also. Otherwise, the site generally is pretty good. There isn't anything that's going to prohibit or make development or redevelopment impossible or very difficult. The other thing that comes out of the phase 1 step is market analysis or a housing needs assessment. And so in Evelyn, in the primary market area, which includes Evelyn, Virginia, I think Gilbert, Mountain Iron, and some areas in addition to that, there's a very strong demand between 2022 and 2035 for a variety of housing types: single-family detached, twin homes, multifamily, senior housing, and workforce housing. So that's a good sign. There's demand. There's enough demand in the market for new housing. So as we conclude phase 1 and we move into phase 2, which is establishing the goals and the vision, one of the decisions the city council is going to have to make and then communicate that to the school board is, does the city of Evelyn want to preserve any of the buildings on site? And so as part of the phase one process, and there's two actions that have not yet been completed, but they are underway. With regard to the possible reuse of the Franklin Elementary School, we're undertaking what's called a pre-design evaluation to look at the feasibility at a high level, whether or not Franklin could be reused for housing. And at this level, at the medium to high level, if the answer is yes, we take the next step. It doesn't mean in the end it's going to turn out, but we take the next step. If the answer is no at a very high level, then it doesn't make any sense to go any further. The other thing that we're undertaking is an analysis of what it would cost to, or what it would take and cost to heat and cool the multi-purpose building. Because all of you know that the heating system for that building is comes from the high school, and if the high school is demolished, the building just doesn't have any heat. So that's an action we're undertaking, and the answer to those two questions, or that work, will be done probably around the end of September or the middle part of October. And at that time, once phase two kicks off, and again, that's the vision and goal setting, that information, along with all the information that you see tonight and other information, will be shared with the advisory group as they work to understand and provide feedback to the city council on the vision and goals, along with input they receive from the citizens of Evelyn. So the last thing I want to point out is the city council is aware that they have to make a decision, I think on or before February 29th of 2024, regarding what they want to preserve or not. Because at that time, then whatever they don't want to preserve, it's our understanding that demolition will commence sometime after that. So I am very positive. It's very positive, the results of phase one, and we're looking forward to phase two. And the city administrator and I will be sitting down and to help and to work to establish the membership of the advisory committee, which I understand there'll be certainly members of the school board on that advisory committee. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
I haven't any. I think good work between you and the city in working together to come up with a plan for that building. Okay, any questions for Bob? Okay, thanks, Bob, for your update.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
As far as board discussion though, so we have advertisements on our website for both the buildings, for the Evelyn building still and for the Gilbert building still.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. So where does this fit in with the plans? I mean, we had a motion on the table to do some commercial marketing and get a commercial realtor or broker. But now, whether the city wants one or more or all or none of these buildings, I mean, we're going to wait till February to see if we can sell instead of demolish the rest of the buildings or the whole campus. It seems to me that there's things mixed up in here that we're not going ahead with the marketing and the advertising of those buildings, including the Gilbert building.
You
Only dealing with this plan here.
in our Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting, you had mentioned that we're not marketing it right, and I asked you.
Not at all, not right.
Okay, but I asked you, since you seem to know that we're doing it wrong, what can we do to market it? Where do we go, Director Sorkin, to market this? Because nobody's interested in these buildings.
Well, we don't know that, Bill. We have about a year old. We've got a motion on, active motion that we voted on to, commercially get a commercial broker or realtor. And we haven't solicited that at all.
Where do we find these people?
Well, you put out like anything else, quotes and bids, and you advertise for
Did that.
someone to
Yeah, I
market.
think
Well,
that-
I don't know if we did, so it's not under my understanding that we did. We may have talked to certain people like,
Can we confirm that we did,
yeah,
one way or the other? Do we?
I can confirm that. Yes, you did. This has been a long, I'll use the word torturous process, because the reality is, and with all apologies to people who have been in the buildings, we have not run into any individual or broker or commercial real estate agent or regular realtor who is interested in listing the buildings, who is interested in spending time, who is interested in redeveloping, who is interested in buying the buildings, and has the wherewithal to do with the buildings. We have not run into that individual. We have had probably 25 people go through either the Gilbert buildings or the Evelyn buildings, and some of these individuals have had significant resources, they have significant employees, and they are not interested. It's because they like the buildings, they're just so large, and they're so incredibly expensive, so we just have not run into those individuals yet. We will continue to list the buildings for sale, and I guess I can do the update now. I was going to do a part of the superintendent report, Director Eddie, if that's okay with you,
That's
because it's directly related, is that we have always said we want to work with the cities in the buildings they've had. We've worked with the Gilbert for years on what we should do with that building. We've been very patient working with them for years. We've been working with the city of Evelyn for years on that building. And so the Buildings and Ground Committee talked about this topic. And the recommendation is, and I would strongly recommend this, and that's why you gave $50,000 to help the city of Evelyn with their plan for what do we do with the site. Because, and I keep saying this, your job is to run the schools. The city is in charge of development of properties and redevelopment. That is not your job. That is the job of the city of Evelyn, and that is the job of the city of Gilbert. They are waiting in the wings to acquire these properties because I believe they do want to develop them. However, I believe this makes a lot of sense to let the city of Evelyn go finish the process that you just heard the consultant do, go through what buildings, if any, the city of Evelyn might be interested in, and have a little patience for a few more months, and have them come back at the end of February and say to you, you'll hear more about this, we're the city of Evelyn, we want these buildings, or we want to acquire this building. Or, I'm sorry, we've looked at it, but we do not want to acquire any buildings. And at that point of time, you will have more discussions with Buildings and Grounds, and in the full board meeting, okay, what do you want to do with the rest of these buildings? Because I think nobody wants to keep them standing, so people, if they're going to come down, then we would move to remove things from the buildings, because there's a lot of stuff in them if they're coming down, and that's a long process we have to go through. And so that process would need to start. But we want to give the city of Evelyn time to go through their own discussions, whether they want any of the buildings on top of the hill. That's kind of where we're at with the city of Evelyn.
And February is the kind of time point that we're looking at.
Yes, and the reason for that time point is because that gives Bob Streeter time to go through his process and work with the residents, have some community meetings on, does the city of Evelyn really want these buildings? What would they use them for? He needs some time to go through that process. And City of Evelyn and Mr. Streeter, we believe they will be done at the end of February, and they will be able to give you an answer. And then once you know that, it's going to be yes or no, or we want this building, and then you will have the information you need to go on and do whatever you need to do after that.
At that point, if the city agrees, then they take over the buildings, right? And we demo the parts that they don't want.
That's why this board, and I heard this clearly, that's why you voted for those bonds. The number one reason, and that was very important when the Buildings and Grounds Committee met to just talk about it, demolition. That's, if we're bringing these buildings down, you now have the money to bring these buildings down. And for the cities to redevelop and do something good with the property, get better housing, whatever the cities want to do, that's their job to do. But they have an incredible opportunity, if they want to go ahead in that direction, to do it. But they want to work with you. And what I'm trying to avoid is the cities, let me be very blunt here, what I'm trying to avoid is the city and the school going like this. Because this is very much what happens sometimes. You get at loggerheads, and I don't think we want to do that. That's not in the best interest of the area or the cities or the school district.
Okay.
I'll pass for now. I have much to say, but I'll just pass for now.
Okay. Move on to 4.2, Kraus Anderson's quarterly report.
Cable.
One arm. That arm.
Hello, everybody.
All right, welcome, Pat.
It's good to be back. This is your quarterly report plus one, because we actually went one extra month here. We only have really 1 month of summer up here, right? And it's July, so we kind of pushed it into August. So we're going to give you that update on the quarterly report. The good news is you're 87% complete. So that means we're reducing how much we have to cover with you. We won't cover anything on the high school. We won't cover anything on the Laurentian project because we've closed those out. We've covered those in the past. So, the normal agenda, where we start off with schedule, safety, quality, and budget. One of the main things in the budget is we are asking for you to infuse the amendment for the $3.1 million for my RRRB, which was dedicated to the North Star project, and that will take down the Virginia High School as well as do the civil work and the landscaping underneath that high school when it's complete. So that'll be towards the end of the presentation. And then at the very end, if you notice the last page, we just gave you a little update about the different miscellaneous projects, a little bit on Orthopedic Associates, even though it's not your project, it's in your building. So we gave you some key dates there. We also covered a little bit on phase 1 and phase 2 of mechanical. If you have questions for that when we get through all of the demo on the North Star, then we'll answer those as well. So you've seen this before. This is our overall schedule and where we're at on the project. And as I said, Laurentian as well as the high school are completed. We are about 65% complete on North Star Elementary. Seems like the public has now noticed, now that we're out of the ground, brick is up, really noticed this project more now. It seemed to be more of just a nuisance for the one block of street closure there. But now we're getting a lot of questions, I'm assuming you are as well, about various parts of the building. It's really taking shape. And then 56% complete on the demolition. We have a little asterisk there because that's like a moving goalpost, right? Given everything that we just talked about on demolition, we may be demolishing more, so then we'll have a bigger pot to have a percentage on, and that percentage might actually go down as we add more stuff to it, depending on what you as a board wants to do. So some key dates, obviously these we've all completed. 11-month walkthrough right towards this is on the high school. 11-month walkthrough where we come back because you have a 12-month warranty on your project. At 11 months, we come through just like we did on Laurentian and make sure we walk through with your facilities people and your principals and anybody from the district that wants to come through with us, and we document what is not acceptable. if it's something that was installed and it broke, or something that didn't function the way it should have from the very beginning, that's the time we document that, because then it can be fixed under warranty. After the 12th month, it's no longer under warranty, and even if you say that it was a problem 6 months ago, if you didn't do this inspection, then you can't really hold contractors to it. So we'll do that towards the end of August here. I think we're still working the dates out, but we'll get that done before the 12th month. 11-month walkthrough, different ones for the site, the envelope, and the building. So that is in August for the site work, and because that was done first. Okay, we get substantially complete on the site work. Then we got substantially complete on the envelope or the outside of the building. And then we got substantially complete on the building itself. So August, September, and December are the 3 dates for those inspections. So safety, we have 75 workers on your projects right now. It's on North Star, on that site, North Star and the demolition, the 2 combined. We have about 30 plus or minus, depending on the day, just doing abatement right now. And as Garrett will tell you here when he goes through his part of the presentation, the abatement, as we stated before when we were originally doing the bidding and then getting the approval on the abatement dollars, it's pretty extensive, and especially in the annex portion, but then also on the terrazzo floors of the high school. So to have 30 people working on abatement is pretty well unheard of. We started with about 6. It wasn't going along very well. We had a lot of good conversations with the contractor. They came to the party and pulled people from other projects, because until the abatement's done, we can't bring the building down. And we need to bring the building down so that we can finish the North Star foundations that come out off the south side of that. So that's the big push on that. But 75 workers, things are working really well. Good contractors, following good safety. We have Jim Roy out there on the project. He's doing an amazing job. It's a continuous process for him between construction, safety, logistics, neighbors, watering down the roads so that we don't have a dust cloud, working with city officials. Between he and Pete and Garrett's been helping out, really working well on North Star. So I will turn it over to Pete Bovenet, who is the project manager, and he will talk to you about the demolition portion. By the way, Morgan will come back on the 11th of September. Morgan Siopa, she was on maternity leave, or is on maternity leave, and then she'll be coming back to us. So Pete's been covering for her while she's gone.
I'm the filler. Make sure it's the fill.
Yeah, you're right, you're filling.
That's right. So if you notice, we do have a new face with us tonight. This is Garrett Johnson, our KA intern for the summer. So
Hi, Garrett.
been,
Hi, Garrett.
Hi.
helping us out a little bit down in Duluth on a couple projects, and now he's up here with me on the Rockridge project. So if you see him around, hard to miss him. All right, little demo update. Now that money did come in from the IRRB, it got infused into the project to take down the VHS and do the site work. We've updated our aerial photo here, waiting for Bill Bryson to get me one with the new school, but we'll get there. So we are taking down, yes, there we go, thanks Mike. Taking down the VHS, and this whole entire site will become a park-like setting. Actually, I just got that PR for North Star to get pricing on that. So as Pat mentioned, there's a lot of abatement going on, and when you look at this, it almost looks like a demo project because we have to demo so much of the interior of the building to actually get at the abatement. So this is just one example. It's kind of hard to tell in the photo here on the screen, but this column right here is completely covered with asbestos-containing fireproofing. So we have to demo out the interior wall, you can kind of see it better here, to access that hazardous material to then abate it and make it nice and clean like that. So all that material has to get removed before we even demo the building because it can't get mixed in and brought to that same landfill. So just some more examples of how much demolition has to take place, big piles of this all ended up leaving the building too. And actually it's all nice, clean, swept, ready for the demo guys. just some more photos. There's a material called vermiculite that's in the exterior CMU of the building, and that has to be brought to a different landfill by the demo contractor. But as we're demoing for abatement, we actually got some of that in these files, so all that got cleaned up by the abatement contractor and moved out. But there'll be some more of that for the demo contractor as well. So, very extensive process. This is over in the VHS now. If you remember some of the red terrazzo floors, or maybe you saw it under the carpet or something, that all had to get demoed out. It was asbestos containing. So not the gray terrazzo, not the entire school, but every level, 4321 on the north side and south side. There's the red terrazzo, and that was just a rock machine that they used to demo all that up. So, like I said, very extensive demo to even do the abatement to then demo. So that is the update on demolition, and then I'm going to hand it over to Garrett for North Star.
All right, so I'll be going over some updated pictures on the North Star Elementary School. So first, we're looking at the southeast corner of the building, and we have the brick installed up here, windows installed there, waiting on our windows need to be installed there, and then on this eastern north side. And then we have the patio has been framed, and the dense glass has been installed there. And then we'll move on to the east side of the building. The decorative brick has been installed right here. And then the windows will be installed this week on this side of the building.
Looks way better than that mural that was there before, right?
So here we're inside the building on the second floor looking at the informal learning center. The second floor has been framed, and the mechanical and plumbing rough-ins are done, and electrical rough-ins are almost done. And then here's the media center on the second floor, so we're looking about the same on the interior point. So here we're on the first floor, looking at the main commons from the main entryway. The first floor has been framed, the ductwork has gone in, and then the rough-ins will follow once they're done on the second floor. And then here's another view of the main commons looking back towards the entryway. So here we have some progress photos. This is the west side of that bump out. The brick has been installed, the dense glass has been installed, and then down below here, this wall has been installed, and the brick will be installed this week.
So when demolition starts, go back a minute.
Yeah.
When demolition starts after Labor Day, I didn't mention that part. If you get any questions about what they're demoing, they're actually going to be demoing this building right here. That's the Malone, but it's really close to the gym and really close to North Star. So just put everyone's mind at ease that we're not taking down the new school or the existing gym. It is the Malone Hall and Annex. So they'll be starting both in the northwest corner and northeast corner and munching their way through there and working their way south. So, thanks, Gary.
And then here's another view. You can see more where the windows have been installed on the west side of the building. The up top, the insulation has been installed, and we're waiting for our metal paneling. It did come last week, but it all had manufacturer defects. It was dented in the same spot on each panel, and the new panels will be shipped before the 28th of August.
So just when you think you got it ready to go and you undo the package on day one, and you see a dent in every panel.
Well,
the roller when they roll.
The way our budget's going, we could have put those dented ones up and got a good discount.
And how many calls have you gotten then?
But now you're getting new fresh panels for free, so that's good.
So here we're looking at the south side of the building on the bump out. The brick columns have been installed along the side, top, and the other side right there. And then brick has also been installed below it. And then we are going to be having metal paneling along the middle, as well as those windows will be installed. And then here we're looking at the northeast corner of the building. The north side has all the windows installed here, and all of that brick has been installed. And then down we're gonna have the, what is that wood called?
Oh, the thermally modified wood siding. Really fancy stuff.
Right down there.
You see a lot of progress in that photo in the last 3.5 months. Walls framed, sheeted, bricked. Come on.
Here we're looking at the northwest corner of the elementary school. A lot of progress here as well with the brick, the windows, and then every window is installed on the north side except for the main stairway, because we'll be using that access point to install the stairs. And then there's going to be more metal paneling along this right side right here as well when we get that. And then here is inside the gym with the logos painted onto the wall. And then Pete will take over for budget.
And we did add a couple logos that we didn't get approved yet, so those will still be going in. A couple Rockridge Shield logos. So. Any questions on the update for demo or North Star before we get into budget?
Great job, intern.
Thank you.
Best, best presentation we've had all year.
Wow.
He's getting
Spicy today.
Yeah.
You gotta make eye contact when you do that.
Okay, you guys have seen this slide before. It just gives the overall for each project here on the left, and then the overall current budget. Overall, you're at 201 million. We've spent 87% of it, so 175, and obviously $25 million left to spend. Yeah, I'm not going to go through all these. Laurentian and high school are complete, so those aren't going to change. Demolition is at 5.6 currently, with now the VHS coming down, and depending on what you guys decide in the future, that'll go up if you add more demo. So, North Star specifically, schedule 65%, expenditures 50% spent, so that's a good ratio. 6 months to go. It's coming to a rapid halt here pretty quick. End of January, the building will be done, and then the remainder of the site work and all the added site work to the south will be in 2024, wrapped up by August and punched out before school starts in September. So we'll still have one more busy summer there. We did dip into the contingency a little bit with the miscellaneous things that came up, some unforeseens, but still sitting really good with $1.1 million left in the contingency, so really good. Number-wise, I did see that there was a misprint earlier. It said 56%, we're actually 46% complete, so that was my bad. Again, got the intern to save me. So, haven't spent any contingency on that one. Again, the total budget is 5.6. We spent almost half. And then we added in the VHS demo square footage. So like Pat mentioned before, as you add demo, that square footage overall goes up and the percentage can go back down, right? So, because I think previously the percentage was like 87% complete when we had the loan annex left. But now that we added that 200-some thousand square feet back in. Any questions on those?
I have a question. The total budget expenditures of 5.6 million for demo.
Yeah, that's just the total budget for the current demo projects up through the Virginia High School demo.
Okay, so your note said it doesn't include Gilbert, Nelshin, Junior High, Evelyn, Gilbert High School and Gym, or the Franklin Elementary. So possibly the Franklin Elementary would not be demoed, but what are the estimated remaining demo costs of those buildings?
I don't know.
We only have 5.6. That's the budget, 5.6.
The 5.6 is only going to cover what we've already done and then up through the VHS. So all these listed down here below are not in that budget.
Do we have an idea of what that figure might be estimated?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I know we're gonna be running right around that $12 a square foot. So,
And we don't have that in the budget?
that is currently not in the budget.
That extra demo of all those buildings is not in the budget?
Correct.
That is why the 13 million was approved by the board.
Well,
A big piece of that is that, and we did do an estimate on it. We didn't come prepared to talk about that tonight. It has been estimated.
so on the first page where you have the master budget, so for the North Star on the bottom, is that 13 million from IRRB all going into the North Star? Because that's the amount difference between the original and then the current.
So
That's my first question, that 13 million, designated to the North Star.
So the 3.1 from IRRB, you mean, right?
I think one thing.
You're right, 3.1, yeah.
One thing to clarify is because you just sold the bonds, we haven't infused that into the budget yet. Only the 3.1 has been brought in.
So the 3.1 from IRRB, was that all dedicated to?
VHS demo and then the site work underneath.
Okay, so it's all the demo and the site work underneath.
Yeah,
Okay.
so as it splits up in these projects, the purple demolition here, some of that money from the 3.1 went into there to cover the VHS demo.
Right.
And then the remainder of that funds went into North Star to cover all the site work underneath it.
Okay, so that's the demo part. The second part of my question would be, there's a $13 million difference from the original for the North Star to the current. And then if we take out the 3.1, that's IRRR designated money, that's still 10 million more
We rolled over a bunch of our old
at the North Star?
demo money into that. That was a long time ago that we did all that.
I'm just wondering, how much of that is demo? And we did get specific demo money from IRRR. And the 10 million more were for some other changes we made in the North Star?
Inflation.
I'm just trying to figure it out. How much was demo and how much was maybe increased costs of materials? Or did we have any add-ons or changes for $10 million?
This last 3.1 that came, or?
The 10 million. I understand the 3.1, so I subtracted that from the 13.
Didn't we take all the remaining demo money and put it into the North Star? That's why we had to go to the state for their money. We went to the IRRB to help plug that so we can do the demolition later.
That is correct.
We couldn't start and let the contracts as bid on the North Star project because we were short of funds, if you remember that. So we did take the dollars from the demo budget, which we hadn't bid yet, put them into North Star to make that whole so we could continue that project, which now leaves you short on demo, which is why we had that asterisk. You decide what you want to demolish now, and that 13 million can be put where you want it to go.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that was part of my question, where that money's going to come from. So that 13 million in bonds that just passed here, that comes to be the total difference between the North Star original and the Laurentian, including the $3 million from IRRR, right?
The IRRR doesn't enter into that at all.
No,
Go ahead.
no, I just.
It is a 13.5 that we just approved. That's unallocated right now.
Correct. That is what you have to do future demolition as you see fit, not determined yet.
Okay, and there are some other things.
And that is not included in
That's that stuff.
the 201 million.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, the
It's not in
13
there.
is not in there.
Not yet.
Now, the next quarterly report, after you've made decisions and things are a little more solidified, then we'll bring in whatever you tell us to bring in.
Okay, so again, the $13 million difference from the North Star original and now the North Star current is some was demo and abatement money and site preparation money that it sounds like we borrowed from Peter to pay Paul and now we're paying it back, right? Or we're putting it back because now we've got some demo money from IRRB.
Yeah, when we took all the funds from demolition to make North Star whole in order to start it, we had pretty much zero contingency. And we had just enough money to award all the contracts before they expired. So that's all we had. Then when we got additional funds, we're healing that contingency budget. I think we did that last quarter, if I remember right. And then we were able to reimburse all of that to now make North Star whole with a contingency. But it all came from demolition. So now we have to bring that back if you're going to do more. Right now you have nothing committed out after VHS. So you have the old junior high.
Right.
And you have the old manual arts. And you have Roosevelt, and then now we have included the other buildings at VHF, Annex, and Malone. That's all we're planning to demo right now in this budget.
I know, and then, but the other part of that 13 million were other things that increased the cost of that project of the North Star.
Yeah, I'd have to go back to several quarters to show that progression.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so now we'll get right into the amendment. You do have the actual official amendment that we'll have to get signatures on if you approve it tonight. So all that information is in front of you. So this is the short version of that, just to help reduce the time of the presentation. So this is just a history of where you started at 178.5, all the way down to number 10 to 201. All the funds that have been infused over the last 3 quarters. So today's amendment is a total add of about $117,000. So again, what Patrick had mentioned earlier, that is for the 3.1 million used into the project from the IRRB, then increases the general conditions to cover the demo of the VHS and all the site work going on underneath it. And then no site services, well, that's all of our time, great interns time. So no additional funds there, nothing additional for the reimbursables, and then the fee does go up as well when the money gets infused in the project. To digest that a little bit. So this is the detailed breakdown. Up at the top is the summary for all projects. Number 1 and number 2 is Laurentian and high school. Nothing changed on those. Those are closed done. You won't see anything change on those after this. Number 3 in the purple is the demo, and that's where some of the general conditions and fee went to. And then also on the North Star, the general conditions and fee for the landscaping and site work underneath. So that totals 117. And if you have any questions on that, otherwise we would ask Mr. Chair for an approval for amendment number 10.
Okay, so 4.2.1, consider approval amendment number 10. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Reardon. Support by Director Lotiger. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Passes 5-1. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Did you want any update on
Might as well.
project?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, by the way, for the so some miscellaneous updates. The Orthopedic Associates project taking place on the south end of the building. Again, not your project, but it's in your building. You're the landlord. So it's coming along really nice. If you guys want a tour, let me know. We can give you a tour. So punch list happened today, actually. It was all-day punch list. DSGW came out and walked through the space, marked everything up that we need to fix or change. And then now the owner is going to be moving in this week, starting tomorrow. So you'll start to see some traffic out here, some semi-deliveries. Just be aware of that. So that'll happen this week. And then they're going to start seeing patients in the middle of September. That date might change and flex a little bit because this project is very closely related to the next one, which is the district admin building mechanical upgrades, which is right next door to the Orthopedic Associates on the south end. So that project was installing 2 new air handlers, 4 boilers, a couple water heaters to service not only your spaces, but the Orthopedic Associate space as well. So with delivery issues, as we've seen on these projects, We finally got our air handler for the orthopedic associate space, and that's going in right now. Still waiting on some other equipment, and that could determine on what date they actually start seeing patients. So sometime between middle of September and early October, we should start to see traffic and patients come in for orthopedic associates. I kind of already went into the district admin space. Your air handler for your space is already installed, ready to go. We just got to work on controls and test and balance. So that specifically is for like the wrestling space and over there. So we should be giving you a certificate of occupancy on our end for the 1st of September. Some wall pads still need to get on there. I see they got started, so that's a good progress. So those will have to be wrapped up as well by the 1st so that we can get that certificate of occupancy and start using that space when school starts. The phase 2 upgrades. So that mechanical room is going to go on the north end of the building, and we're working on bids right now. Those bids are going to be due coming up here this Thursday. We'll be opening the bids, so if you see some more traffic here, it's probably bidders bringing their sealed bids to us. So Garrett's going to help me out with that one. Once we get the bids, we'll be bid tabbing. Garrett's going to be taking charge of that, going through, making sure all the contractors have all their information and all their numbers are good. And then we'll be back here in a couple of weeks to present to you, and Garrett will be presenting the recommendation for the bids on the phase 2. See how I put all the work on it?
I'm just you beat me to it.
So, if you approve the bids and we move forward, we'll start working contracts and submittals, looking to start construction early October. So then obviously you'll start to see more traffic here for that. We're going to be using...
There's a lot of flies going on.
Yeah, I noticed that. So we're going to be using that door over there. That would be the west door, if that works for the school district, to come in. So it's going to be right there for our mechanical work. So starting selected demo in early October. Hopefully be done by the end of the year, depending on delivery of equipment. So, all right. That's all I have for those updates.
Okay.
Any questions?
Yeah, can you refresh our memories about the approximate costs? We have 3 phases for this building. I know the first one is done, but could you give us the costs again for the 3 phases?
It's phase 1 was $1 million.
The one that we.
Phase 2 and 3 was $1 million.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Okay,
That's what she's getting at.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking, yeah.
The phase 2 and 3 have now been combined into just phase 2 mechanical upgrade.
Okay, so I know we've done work in the orthopedic associates, but that was like a phase 1 to me, and I thought then 2 and 3 is how I'm looking at it. So,
Yeah, so phase
2 and
1
3.
mechanical
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
is the one we're putting together
Yeah,
for
how
the
much?
wrestling and the OA space
Yeah.
specifically.
I'm just, how much?
And that was 1.2 million.
Okay, and what was the other one?
We don't know what the other one is yet. I
Okay,
think it was a rough budget right around the same. So we'll know that on the 28th. when we-
okay, and then there's another phase, though, the first one. The second phase was 1.2, and we don't know the third phase.
Well, phase 2 and 3 are together now.
Okay,
So there's only-
1 million for 2 and 3 together?
Well, the bids are due on Thursday.
Yeah. well,
Bids are due on Thursday.
Okay, so 2 and 3 are together. What was 1? What was phase 1?
It was 2 was what, bath fans and some upgrades, wasn't
2
there?
million? Was it 2 million? I'm just,
2 and 3 were separate, but it consisted of some bath fans, some upgrades.
So the scope of 2 and 3, which is now just phase 2,
Right.
is going to be 2 air handling units in the new mechanical space. So in order to make that mechanical space, we got to do some selective demo, build the walls, put the air handlers in there. And then we're going to connect up to the existing ductwork. And then we're going to demo all of the exterior air handling units, or they're actually rooftop units on the ground. And all of their
Foundation.
screens and pad foundations, thank you.
And gas.
And then we're going to sod and seed around the entire building so it looks nice and pretty.
so again, phase 2 and 3 are now phase 2.
Yes.
Is that the 1.2 million, or is it?
We don't know that one yet, but
Okay.
right.
Phase 1 is 1.2 million.
Okay.
Phase 2, which was phase 2 and 3, is now phase 2.
Right.
Find that out on Thursday.
On Thursday, they're bidding, opening
Okay.
bids for that.
Thanks.
And the only reason there were three phases, it was three pieces of the building, right?
Right, that's how I
But
remember
the
it.
south, and then it was the north, and then that center area is a different set of mechanical, so. Now we're gonna take those out, and do them all at once.
So although the bids aren't in, what is our estimate of how much 2 and 3 together is going to cut?
About the same as phase one,
It's another 1.2 million?
right around there.
Okay, thank you.
More area, but we have a lot of the boilers already installed in phase one, so
Okay.
it's pretty much just.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right?
thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
Okay,
That's yours.
okay, moving along to the consent agenda. I get a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Director Yuhan. Support. By Director Reardon. Any discussion?
Just one question. Are any of these positions just replacement or are they new positions that we haven't had before?
They are not new positions.
We've had resignations and then we've had hiring others, but there's no new
Correct.
positions there. Okay.
No more.
I was just
Go
going to
ahead.
say, we've had some questions about postings. Were you able to get any answers on that today, Noel? As far as, like coaching staff and.
Yep, I have. Most, and it depends, we post most of the things, if there's a brand-new open position, someone retires or leaves and we don't have anybody in there, then those postings almost always go external and internal. If there's somebody who is currently in the position and it's rolling into another year, some of those we don't post. Like, for example, a lot of the head coaches, they're still going to continue. We don't post for the coach again. But if there's somebody there, like community ed, if there's somebody already there, they're going to continue. We don't post some of those positions again. We will internally post some of those, so some of these will get internally posted to see if there's anybody else other than, because sometimes it's who wants it. And you're looking around and there's very few volunteers. So if it's a brand new position, person retired, those tend to get externally and internally posted. If there's somebody in the position, then we tend to keep those, we don't post or we internally post those.
You get that, Brandy?
When you said if somebody's interested in it, somebody interested other than the person who is in the position now?
It depends, because sometimes we have people who, they tell us, I don't know if I really want to come back. And so sometimes we'll post those internally just to see if there's somebody else who's interested in a position. But if we know it's going to be a disputed position or it's going to cause a lot of publicity, et cetera, then usually we post those externally and internally.
So if we have a position open and we only post internally, I'm not sure that we shouldn't be posting externally too.
If you're talking about the position, I think you're talking about this is a case where if somebody is in the position, and that was the case, there was somebody in that position, that person wanted to continue. We posted it internally to see if there was anybody else internally who was interested. And that was not an external posting, because there already was someone in the position.
Yeah. I wasn't thinking of anything particular, evidently you were, but I'm just trying to understand the whole thing.
Well, I know the board has received an email.
Okay, discussion being had on the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-1. We're turning pages now. Okay, new hires.
You said 6 what?
Under 6-1, he said.
I thought you said 6-1.
No, it was passed. It passed unanimously. Moving on to 6-1.
Okay, then that's where I heard.
I'm sorry. 6-1. Okay, new hires, 6.1. You want to speak to that, Noel, or?
Yes, happy to, Director Addy. This one we specifically put separately because we knew you would want a little background and discussion on this one. Spencer Ani, longtime business manager, is leaving. He's going to work for another position, and sometimes that happens. People who have been at certain jobs, it's just time for a change. So he is leaving. We posted, we interviewed a number of individuals. You can see who was on the interview team. We had some very good candidates. There's some excellent candidates, and the interview team talked about the candidates afterwards, and their recommendation is that we hire Andrea for the position. And Andrea has been in that office as your controller for many years. She actually, when Evelyn Gilbert was a separate school district, she actually was the business manager for the Evelyn Gilbert School District for 2 years. And so then she took a different position, and so she applied for the position. The committee is recommending her to you. And the one thing for you to know is that because this is a position on a 2-year contract, so we are recommending her to you for approval. And then what we'd like to do is have her meet with the individual school board negotiating committee and have them negotiate with her what the salary would be of the individual contract. And then that would come back to the full school board for approval. And that would be just because on all the individuals on 2-year contracts, they're not in unions. That's how it's been handled. They've all negotiated those with the school board negotiating committee, and then it's come back here for your final approval.
I will make the motion to approve Andrea Lentilla for the business director. And again, I've reached out to Spencer a number of times. I don't know if he's still here, but
He's not.
I appreciate all the hard work that he's done. He's really been an asset to the school district. So good luck to him and his future endeavors. And yeah, good luck to Andrea.
Support.
The motion by Director Lotiger, support by Director Reardon. Any discussion?
It said we had 7 applicants and we interviewed 5. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It says.
I know there's no such thing as a certificate or a degree in school finance because it's kind of an animal all of its own. And did any of these others have any school finance or business manager for schools experience? Or
No. No.
None of them did. I see you're on the committee, so, okay. And I know Andrea has because she worked for us before. So, okay, that was my only question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye to approve 6.1.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 7.1, Treasurer's Report.
All right.
All right.
Treasurer's report as of July 31st, 2003, our balances, Miners National Bank, $4,521,477. Franzen Bank, $4,369,357. First National Bank of Gilbert, $1,618,539. MN Trust, PMA Securities, $702,772. Minnesota School District Liquid Assets Funds, $325,523 for a total of $11,537,668. Construction Bond Funds, Ellers Investment Partners, $8,984,485. OPEB funds, we've got Mintrust PMA Securities, balance of $9,118,125. And Mid-America is at $5,117,791 for a grand total of $14,235,916.
Can I get a motion to approve the Treasurer's Report?
I make a motion.
Motion by Director Westby, by Director Addy. All those in favor of approving the Treasurer's Report signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 6-1. 7.2, Superintendent Report. Go ahead. I know you only get one on there.
I'm in a short, yes, I don't have as much to say. In amidst all of the other things you're hearing about tonight, guess what? We have school starting here, in the not too distant future. So you have teachers in the buildings already. You have principals who are on the job. Everybody is gearing up for the start of the school year, working on all sorts of things. So it's kind of the exciting time. Things just start really ramping up right about now. So we do have new people in the high school. I was in the high school today, greeting all the clerical staff. They're all there, waiting to greet the parents and the kids coming in. There's a different, and you heard Mark Winter talk about, we're going to bring the kids in waves, so we kind of train them so they see how the building works and everything. And so, but Laurentian, North Star, and Parkview, and you will have noticed if you drive by Parkview, it is no longer the Parkview Learning Center. That's an old language from the Virginia when it was called the Parkview Learning Center. It's now simply Parkview Elementary. So the sign is simpler, so that should be, it's consistent with what we're calling Laurentian. So if you ever drive by Parkview, there's just new signage out on the front because it's elementary school. So this is just updating the board. Hey, we do have a school year coming around, and it's right around the corner. And then I only want to say one quick thing on the Gilbert buildings. You agreed to an MOU with Wolf's Head, and that MOU is expiring. And I talked to Mike Andrews, who is of Wolf Heads. You are under no obligation to follow through on anything from that Gilbert MOU. He told me today they're still looking into it. They're going to get back to us in a month. But I believe we will need to get the Buildings and Grounds Committee together to talk about the building and start going through the process of what would you like to do with the Gilbert building. And Mike Andrews knows I'm saying this, and he knows that the school board is going to discuss and make some decisions about what they want to do. So I just want to inform you that that MOU is expiring, and we need to be ready to move on to what may happen after that. Any questions from board members?
On the opening of the school, do we have a class schedule? Is that finalized or still working on
You
that?
must be talking high school.
High school.
Yes, Mark Winter is still working on that one because everything has to be punched in new to the schedule. And Todd is helping him also on that schedule.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
Well
it?
done? That's it? Okay, moving on to 8, policies. Let's go, before we approve these policies, let's go and discuss with Director Westby. She wants to discuss 816, 818, 822, 825, and 828. Okay.
What?
The floor is yours,
No,
Lisa.
well, it was
You got it wrong.
6, yeah.
What is it?
Yeah, she has
8.16.
8.1, so policy 102.
Oh.
8.3 is 419, I believe, right?
Well, I had 806, policy 806,
Yeah.
policy 624, policy 618, policy 616, policy 601, and policy 603.
Okay.
So I can go to 806. They're probably not all in order anyway. So 806, it was just in this crisis for, let's see, I think somewhere in here it was talking about helping kids, and I'm just saying that parents should be able to opt into this. They should be notified for opting in.
On the crisis management?
Yeah.
And again, these have gone through the policy.
All the policies you see here, the policy committee looked at and recommended moving them on to the full school board.
Correct?
That is correct.
As a first reading.
And, and the other thing is the recommendations of MSBA, these are pretty much what they recommend.
They are exactly what MSB is recommending. And Director directors of the board, just to let you know, on this one, we are required to practice certain scenarios, which are under crisis. Some of those scenarios, you don't want to alert everybody because you're supposed to see how they work in real time, so the kids know about them. And schools who have done this, who have notified parents, it has caused a lot of confusion in the community, because then people go, is this real? Is this a prank? So we can do that, and we can notify I'm just letting you know, you're going to have some negative repercussions happen, because normally people don't know about these, and you just could get into a huge convoluted situation where you're talking to, why are we practicing this? We got tornado drills, we got active shooter drills, we have active, let's close the building down, there's no shooter. There's a whole series of different ones we can certainly
So
do.
not to let the parents know that, so this is page 10 that I'm looking at. If a student is opted out of participating in an active shooter drill, it's number 2 here. And my thought was just opt in and making parents aware that they've if they're opting out.
And that's a new part this year, because there's always somebody somewhere in America who does something stupid when they're practicing. I'm going to say that, like they will actually practice with rubber bullets. Well, that's a really dumb idea. So we're not doing that. You can't do that. So that's why that's in there. So if there's a student under certain circumstances who high anxiety or something, if we actually do an active shooter drill, that kid can opt out with the parents. And if we actually do an active shooter drill, you're going to know about it. And the whole world is going to know about it, that we're doing an active shooter drill, so everybody understands exactly what we're doing. So yes, under those circumstances, yes, parents absolutely would.
Okay.
So, and again, to clarify, policy committee is Lisa, Nicole, and Polly?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
We had a very short meeting because Nicole had to go.
Yeah, we did not go through these, so the request was that we would go through these again as a policy committee meeting.
And that it wouldn't be all in one reading, it would still be 3 readings. And especially now, since Nicole isn't here tonight, she doesn't have her input as a policy.
After we get done talking about the ones you want to discuss, we can pass it for the first reading.
Yeah.
And then you guys hopefully will meet in the near future. And
Okay, what,
I'm asking now, just for clarification, so you're saying that it's going to be opt-in, I mean, it's going to be by default, everybody will partake unless somebody wants to opt in.
Minnesota state law.
Opt out in the state law?
If we're doing an active shooter drill,
Yeah,
which we're not likely to do,
well,
but under those circumstances, if you do them, you're going to know about it.
I know that.
Everybody's going to know about it.
I know that, but I'm.
We do a lot of other drills that,
There are, sorry.
no, we do. There's a whole, we have to do 10 a year. Some are tornadoes, some are fire, some are active shooter, some are, we just need somebody. Unusual is wandering around the neighborhood and we don't know their intentions. The police doesn't know their intentions, so we might lock the building down, for example. And then instruction just continues.
So active shooter drill is statutory, mandatory?
No, we have to practice for that, but some schools decide to do them.
Yeah. A lot of schools, I think, are looking at crisis management policies and doing crisis management in the event of an active shooter. And I think that is the smart thing to do,
absolutely.
especially with the way the world is today.
I
So,
mean,
understand.
you hate to
Right.
be that one kid that opted out and he doesn't know what to do. There's an active shooter and he was opted out of that drill.
well, and there's tornado drills, and the sound of the tornado drill can trigger kids who have sensory issues with hearing and they need noise canceling headphones. And so that is supplied to them so that they, they aren't triggered. And if they're in special education and their special ed teacher knows about that, then they are oftentimes out of the building before the drill happens. So it's a good thing to have, said, with the way things are going in the world today.
My point is, though, I think it's going to be consistent with other policies that are coming before you and recommendations from that committee, is that we hope to take the stand as a school board and a school district of opt-in versus opt-out. And parental knowledge first, parental knowledge, parental consent over many policies, and opting in instead of a default by opting out. It's like you're by default going to partake automatically unless you opt out. And just to reverse that is my point.
And Director Sorkin, when the high school or any building is pre-emergency, they can't do that. I'm sorry. That building will be absolutely gridlocked because who opts in, who opts out, half the kids opt out. We have to do this with all kids for fire drills and these emergency. It's not doable. I'm telling you, it's simply not doable for these emergencies to have
And on top of that, then it's another step. You have to have somebody opt the kids in.
Right, because if 30% we don't get parent signature, if there's a real emergency crisis, they will not know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is just one example of an active shooter drill. You said we are required to do many of them, or other ones, but as a main theme about, parental knowledge, parental consent, and opting out of certain.
Well, I'm pretty sure if there's a real fire, you're going to have 100% of your parents are going to be very glad their child was practicing the fire drills.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay,
That's quite different.
what other one?
624, the only thing is, I just have a question, and maybe Noel, you can say why basically this whole policy was nixed. Did we go to something else, or?
What one are you referring to?
This is
Online?
This is the
Online instruction.
online learning. Do we go to something else for online learning, or?
No, you've always had online learning. You've always had some kids who are doing online under Rock Ridge. Always has happened for years and years, even Evelyn Gilbert in Virginia, it always happened. They have some new rules coming on, and part of it is that they want kids to become familiar with online instruction. This is something that was put in there to encourage schools so kids had some kind of instruction with how online learning.
But there are pages that are Xed out.
There's five pages of that they're
Redlined out.
Right.
redlined out.
That means they're no longer applicable,
Right.
and that's why they redlined them out.
Right,
So you just get to see what they recommending you take out.
okay.
All right, so what other one there?
So 618, again, in the definitions, A, above grade level, this is all state pulling, we've we're not using that anymore, we're not using C anymore. Why are we deleting these? They seem like they would be good for student education.
It's, which is, the reason why that is, came out of the political process. You had a number of things that they changed on the academic end, and I know you all received a letter from a constituent expressing some concerns about some of them. That's because the state of Minnesota, they changed the world's best workforce requirement and what goes in there. And they also changed, there's new reading literacy plan, and you've probably heard a lot about the science of reading. And so that's also new that we are required to do. And so in doing that, they erased a lot of older rules that don't apply anymore because they're not in the format that they had. So that's why on one, you have a lot of deletions on something. So it looks like literacy was taken out. It wasn't. It was simply moved to other places in other policies. It's actually stronger than what it was before, the literacy component. So that's what's happened. They're moving things to other policies and taking them out under some of these other policies you're looking at.
Okay.
And that's probably what happened with the online too, I'm guessing.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So the clarification, when they're red line, that's MSBA feeding us the new language that is, so we meet the statutes that.
Yeah, so if you see red without a line through it, that's the new wording.
Right, okay.
And their
Yeah, if
attorneys
it's
look at it.
underlined, yeah.
And their attorneys look at all the policies as well.
Yeah. 818, 603, curriculum development.
616. And this again, this is, that was my question. Advisory committee on page 4, it's removing, so before the advisory committee was director of curriculum, principal, school board member, student representative. This has all been nixed. So now who is the advisory committee? I mean, who makes, now that this is gone, this format is gone, what is the format on?
What happened on that specific one, the committee exists. You just have more leeway to decide who's on there because some of those names that are getting deleted, like for some districts, they don't have these job titles. They don't exist. And so how can they put this person on the committee when the job title doesn't even exist? So what they did is that your committee is still there, but you just have more leeway. And that's why we have volunteers. We're looking for volunteers constantly to be on that specific committee. So that's what happened on that one. They're trying to help rural schools out because in many rural schools, they simply don't have these specific positions don't exist.
So Evelyn Gilbert had actually had a form, not a form, but we had a structure of what our curriculum advisory committee and our staff development committees look like. And they work very well. And I've tried to bring those forward as to what our stamp of approval and our blessing on our curriculum advisory committee would be and should look like. I'd be happy to bring back that from the Evelyn Gilbert district to for the makeup of our advisory committee and our staff development committees.
And,
so I can do that.
Which would be great, but part of the problem we have, and this is all school districts, even large metro school districts, there is not a long line of people knocking down the door to be on these committees, these volunteer committees. So frankly, anybody wants to volunteer, come on, join the committee, and then we'll let them on. So every district is just looking for people to be on these committees. So we'll take anyone who wants to volunteer and be on the committee.
And if my memory serves me correctly, it was advertised in the paper.
Yep.
It was on social media all over. the
And thank you for doing that, yeah.
All over.
Did we get any responses?
I know of one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a disappointment, but what do you do?
Thank you for doing that, though.
Yep. We heard.
Okay, moving, we're going backwards to.
603, and then I got one more after that. 603, the only question that I have, okay, down at the responsibility, superintendent will be responsible for the curriculum development, determining the most effective way for conducting the research, and how this is, timeline shall be determined by the superintendent and will provide for periodic reviews of the curriculum area. So my question was, what do you see as long-range curriculum development as they're talking about that? That was just a question.
I'm glad you asked because you're one step ahead of the state of Minnesota because you just updated your strategic plan and you have a number of items in there that are curriculum related. So those are naturally going to come up as part of the strategic long-term plan. And we meet with the principals weekly once school starts. And we're constantly talking about curriculum. Alicia Schroeder, your curriculum individual, is on the admin team. We meet with her once a week. And so through the principals and Alicia, they push things out to the teachers. And then the teachers, they're the ones doing the hard work. Then when the principal's standing up there, a lot of times they're giving you updates about here's what's going on. A lot of times they're giving you curricular updates. Here's what's going on in addition to some of the funner stuff. And so then they're giving you an update there. And then Alicia will come up here every once in a while and talk to you about here's what's going on curriculum wise in the district and what's happening.
Okay. And then 601, got multiple questions on this. So on the definitions down here, B, question mark, anti-racist means actively working to identify and eliminate racism in all forms, behaviors, culturally sustaining, ethnic studies. But as I read through this 601, I don't see that all children are represented. It's just a select group of ethnicities. So in other words, if you're Norwegian, it's not applying here.
You're right. The state of Minnesota left the Norwegians out of policy 601. They're not there. So what this is, those definitions that you're just talking about, those are new definitions that they were actually in your legislative recap. You got this at a board meeting a couple months ago, and I said, we're not going to go through it, but this is for reference. This is the time you reference it, because those definitions are all in here. I'll tell you the exact page numbers they're on page 11, they're on page 18 through 19 in this one, and these came from the state of Minnesota. So the state of Minnesota has given you these definitions and said, in essence, you need to do these. So they've made it state law, and the MSBA put it into this policy so that you would be covered by all of the things. So yes, this was a deliberate attempt by the state of Minnesota to put some of these in here on this one particular policy so that schools would pay attention to them. Yes, that's what happened.
This is a conflict for me because I think we should represent all children. So, but that's all I'll say on that, and this will be just our first reading, but I think I got to the end of everything.
And I think the intention of this policy is that it does involve all children, but in that, we also know that all children really means all children, not some a little bit more than others. But if you would like, we could certainly add this policy covers all children.
I would like to see it with all ethnicity backgrounds. I would like to see it say all children.
It's your call. You're the school board.
I mean, the MSBA spends countless hours with attorneys to come up with the perfect words.
Agreed.
And if we start changing it, then.
We're leaving our blind side open.
Yep.
Sure didn't have any problem changing the visitor input policy. It didn't take it from MSBA either. I suggested that, keep it that way, but we put restrictions on our people, but that one was okay to change? I don't understand. You pick and choose, which ones. The medication policy had some changes from our school nurse, I guess, and we're accepting that. So that wasn't an MSBA policy either. So you can't just use that as a blanket thing. MSBA wrote it, we got to follow it.
Decisive. This isn't about pills, about giving pills. It's not about visitor input. This is something, if we start changing it, I just think that I don't know.
The big thing is that I look at, would we like to have some different wording there? Yes, but a lot of the wording that is in question are now Minnesota statutes.
And that's unquestionable, and that's not what we're talking about.
Huh?
That's unquestionable. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the things that we do have leeway with, and we do have our own fine-tuning, customizing for our own school district, just like we did with the visitor input policy.
You are the policy committee.
Right.
You can take them back and
You can make recommendations.
make a recommendation to the board.
That's right.
Like you normally say, Polly, committees make recommendations to the board, and the board as a whole makes decisions.
That's right.
Okay.
I say, Director Addy, let me add one thing, because I know you're getting letters from various constituents about various topics. Please don't create policies based upon one person writing a letter or what you're hearing, because there are thousands of other people out there you're not necessarily hearing from. That's just the only small request I make.
You also had 8.1, 102. You wanted to?
She's done.
No?
I think we hit everything.
We did.
All righty. So with that being said, can I?
Thank you.
Can I get you?
I will make the motion to approve the
First reading.
First reading.
I'll second that.
Director Lotiger, support by Director Yuhan. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Okay, moving along to administrative items. Mr. Nemec, you're up.
Thank you for the long wait. Takes a while.
Those of you who don't know, I'm Tom Nemenich from Mazabi Batunas, at Jamaica. I guess the reason I'm here tonight is, most of you know, is we did all the asphalt work at the school and the complexes. The job was bid in 2020. Some of you might know the whole story, most of you probably do. When the job was bid in 2020, most of the paving was projected for 2022. And through the winter of 21 into the spring of 22, coming to when the paving project started, there was a huge spike in asphalt oil. And that's where the request, most of you have the paperwork that we provided to the grounds committee, I'm sure, which was a difference of like $60,000, a direct hit to our company. It wasn't due to a bidding mistake. It wasn't due to anything other than asphalt oil. The only time in my career that I've seen asphalt oil spike like this was 9/11. Other than that, it usually, every year, just it goes up $25, $30 per ton, and just speculate for the next year. I mean, this particular year went up like $200 per ton. We started the conversations with Carl Sanderson as soon as we knew that, you know, it was a problem. We went down, we went through a whole bunch of different things. They made a presentation to the school board, along with other people that were looking for additional cost increases. I think a major reason why it was probably turned down was due to nobody wanted to have to cross the bridge of why is one person getting an increase and not the other. And had I known that it was going to be brought to the board, I would have attended, because the biggest difference in our request, other than anybody else, is asphalt oil you can't pre-buy. Most construction projects, when we bid a job, I'll give you an analogy. If we were a carpet layer and we bid the job to lay the carpet in this room and it was bid in 2020, I would buy the carpet in 2020 and we would store it in a warehouse or on site, which most of the people did here. I mean, there's supplies stored at the daycare center all over the place. Asphalt oil, you can't, even if you could, you couldn't store it, but you can't. They won't, you buy your oil per your season that you can work in, and that's all you can do. So you basically, you speculate into your next season. This one obviously went 2 years, and we speculated when we bid it with the next season's oil cost, which it exceeded that by $200. So it left us with a huge hit to our bottom line. And I've been pecking away at this obviously since we knew it was a problem all through last construction season. I mean, it was constantly chipping at Kraus Anderson and phone calls to different, the grounds committees, and trying to see if there was something that we could do to recoup this. It was a huge hit to our bottom line. So I guess that's where we're at, And when the job was bid, like I told some of you, it was going to be bid in like one lump sum thing, the elementary school and the high school project. And I kind of lobbied to have the blacktop and the class 5 and whatnot pulled over packages like they typically do. The new government service building in Virginia is the same thing, the blacktop's in its own package. This wasn't originally. And I lobbied to have that done. And by doing that, I showed it on paper. We saved the school district $508,000 between the elementary school and the high school, because we wouldn't have got the job. It would have been a different contractor. That has nothing to do with the problem. I'm just saying that, an example, a local contractor, we saved that much money by kind of lobbying. Now I wish maybe I didn't. Anyway, I guess that's where it's at. I don't know if there's anything that can be done, or.
Can we take action on that?
Yes, what is still your request, Tom, is your request?
It was $60,027 and 50 cents.
60,027 and 16 cents.
I would make a motion to offer that to him, citing extenuating circumstances with COVID and stuff, and local contractor, and he had I've heard Tom's story several times.
I support that.
We got a motion by Director Yuan, supported by Director Sorkin. Any discussion?
What fund is this coming out of? Our project fund? That'll increase our project,
Yep, that's where we would take it out of.
not general fund.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks,
guys.
And it was the recommendation of the Buildings and Grounds Committee to take care of this. So 9.2 has been taken care of, 9.3 has been taken care of. 9.4, consider approval of bus purchase. Mr. Voss.
Hi, it's me again. I'm coming back with the same proposal I talked to you about 2 months ago. I guess it is possibly available now to purchase buses. I took this recommendation here to the Transportation Committee on, I believe, the 10th or so of July, and they recommended that I come back to the school.
And it was the recommendation of the Buildings and Grounds, or no, Transportation,
Buildings and Grounds.
yeah, Buildings and Grounds, to go ahead and purchase these buses. So I get a motion for 9.4, please?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Director Yuhan. Support?
Support.
Support by Director Reardon. Any discussion?
Hey, will this money be taken out of the bond money, the 13 million?
We have, no, because you can't spend that bond money on school buses.
Okay.
So we would take this out of the general fund.
I'm trying to see that sheet in my head.
Oh.
But I don't
thought you
have
were
it
at the
with me.
meeting.
I was at the meeting,
Oh, okay.
so,
Right.
and so this is general fund money?
Yes, unless you decide down the road, keep in mind, you don't pay till the buses get here. You tell us to take it out of capital or something like that.
Yeah, we didn't get all of our buses yet, have we?
No.
So we have some on the books that we haven't paid for, that's in our general fund, and now we're adding this to that.
Correct.
Correct, so. You know that total number for the
Right,
buses?
but not this year's budget, it's for
Next
year
By the
after.
time we get them, they'll be.
And
It'll be
members of the
next
board,
year.
the reason why this is coming up, it's taking an eternity to get school buses. So we're trying to be a little proactive and order them so when we really need them, they're here.
Which was discussed in the meeting, correct, Bob?
If I order them tomorrow, you will not see them for about 13 months.
Okay. Any more discussion on 9.4? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Bob.
9.5, consider approval of the 2023-24 high school student handbook. We get a twofer here.
Good evening. Thank you for letting us jump on here. Just talk very briefly, we did create a lot of changes to the handbook, other than, given we're two schools coming to one, there's a lot of little name changes and things of that nature that had to be discussed. I'll quickly just go through the changes that we did talk about and did put into the new handbook. Again, specifically the EG, HS, and the VHS, those specific name changes, different things. And there were some things we did do a little different from each school. So those were changed, updated obviously of the calendars, the names, the dates, those types of things. In there's links to the policy. So this will go live online. So rather than having a long index, you can click the link and it'll jump you down the page to the area you want to go to. Added language about the commons area and the closed lunch. So that is new for both Evla students and Virginia students. We will be closing lunch. There was updated language for legislation for lockers and locker issues, so that was updated. Obviously, we have a parking lot, and the board approved parking passes and charging for parking passes. So that language was added. One thing that has to be determined, and we took out what was currently in there, And over the next 30 days or so, when school gets started, we have to get a committee together. And that is some of the graduation language. And just to make sure, because both schools have different graduation language as far as top 10% and those types of things. So we do need to get students and parents from both former EG, former Virginia together to flesh that out and get that taken care of.
So we did start a committee, we did start a committee last year to talk about graduation, and our graduation apparel and everything has been selected already for October.
I think it started in EG, then quickly went to Virginia, but we started a hall pass that is digital. Every student has a Chromebook, so rather than carrying around hall passes through a QR code and things. So we did that, add that language as we started that last year. And then the other things that we just checked and made sure, there were 6 policies that when we talked to MASSP and MDE to make sure that these 6 were definitely spelled out in the handbook. And it's a pest control, parents' rights to know policy, attendance policy, pledge of allegiance, bullying, hazing, and interview of students outside of agency. So all of those, MASSP also has a guide to our student handbook, so we cross-referenced those and made sure that we were in compliance with those areas. Other than that, there are some tweaks that need to be done, and a lot of it is, the top one on my head is the dress code policy has to be addressed. But that is also a board policy, so we're gonna have to dig into that one deeper. We're gonna have to get a committee together. And so some of that work needs to be done. I know from experience, the dress code policy, if you're changing it for the district, takes a long time. There are a lot of different views, and that is one that we should get a committee together, and a pretty large committee, and it's going to take some hammering out because there are many different opinions on that topic. So with that, are there questions?
I haven't any. Thanks for all your.
I have a question on the cell phone policy. I really haven't had a chance to look through it all, but I did notice that one. The cell phone policy, that they'll only be using it at lunch, allowed to, during passing periods, unless it becomes a tardy truancy concern, before school and after school. Now, during the class, it said is at the discretion of the teacher. Cell phone use during class is determined by the teacher for educational purposes only. I mean, we certainly can go above and beyond that and just say no cell phone use in class, or check it at the door or something like that. I don't know about our school district, but around the country, it's been a big problem.
Certain teachers do allow, or do have students put their phones in a caddy when they walk in the door, or they have them set them on the desk so they can be out visible. But teachers within their classroom do have a little bit of freedom there, as far as if a student wants to use their calculator or something on their phone, they will do that. But a teacher may grant a student permission to use their phone, depending on the situation.
Do you know if it's a problem in our district in any of our classes? And I just would like to be consistent instead of saying, some.
In Virginia last, probably March-ish, I want to say, it was a problem for our 7th and 8th graders. And we sat down as a teaching staff, and Mrs. Hazelton sat with the teachers, and they changed what they were doing in their practices. And as a group determined there would be no cell phones to be seen anywhere in those classrooms. And it takes some time, but it did work. Probably 80% of our issues are coming from social media, and it's happening on Monday mornings after the weekend. I got a call today that it's happening over the summer, and they don't want their daughter to come here because they're being bullied online, and so those are the things that are being brought in. During school, we see it some. It's definitely a distraction, but they also have their iPads and can communicate through their iPads as well. So Kids are smart, and they find ways around it. If we don't allow phones, they'll find other ways around. But certainly, it is a hot topic all over. The issue really is policing it. Is can you truly enforce all of it when it happens?
Mark, wouldn't it be simpler to not have them at all in the classrooms? Then you're not putting the onus on an individual teacher, because then.
Certainly you could. It's how many of us have their cell phones on their desk right now?
You get some pushback.
Those are the problems that we run into is at what point do we not allow any of it, or does it become an education piece that there's a time and a place to use it, and you can have it as long as you don't abuse that privilege. But to your point, there are problems with it, and it becomes a distraction.
I would like to make that change, though, in our handbook, and that there will be no cell phones in the classrooms. And it'll be consistent throughout our whole district. And see how it goes. I mean, I think you're right, Tim. That'll eliminate a lot of things right off the bat. And
A lot of pushback from parents that want to be able to get hold of their kids, whether they have something to do or a notification. It's faster than calling the school. You would get some pushback.
But not during class, though. How did we?
Superior just passed one where they have to keep them in the lockers. Every one of our classrooms has a phone, so if a parent has to get a hold of a student, they can that way. I just think if you don't have them, they can bring them to school and leave them in their locker. Then you don't have teachers saying, I need them, or I want them, or one kid saying, well, he's going to class and he gets to take it, why can't I? And I think it would bury the problem and make it uniform and a lot simpler.
Well, that's where I'm coming from, too. And because they can use their phones at lunch during passing periods, 50-minute periods, if you can't get a message from your parents in 45 minutes, and before school and after school, there's plenty of time. And before cell phones were even invented, we certainly got messages from our parents in school. You call the office, and they'll come right to the class and give you a message if needed. So I'd like to make that change right now as an amendment to this handbook. Maybe it's in the elementary one too. No cell phone use during class. Or not even use, no cell phones in class.
Okay, so we got
Whether you want to say in a locker or in a box at the front of the table or what. So.
We have students that have $1,000 cell phones that we're going to ask them to put in lockers.
That they don't always
That
lock.
they don't, currently we're not providing locks for them.
Well, how about
If you don't want them in the classroom, now I know a lot of places do have the caddies, or whatever you want to call them. They walk in and everybody has a number and you place your cell phone and you pick it up on the way out.
And that would be fine. That would be fine. At least that the student is in the room with its own cell phone. You take it when you go.
I like that idea better.
Yeah, that's good. So I'll make that.
It's tough to police no cell phones in the room probably, but no cell phone use.
No, because kids, come on, they go under the table and the teachers got their back to them.
But if you put them in the caddy.
Put them in the caddy.
Caddy, okay.
Right.
Okay, that's what I'm proposing.
In my recollection, I think the teachers last year too were when the 7th and 8th graders couldn't have them, the teachers were very relieved that wasn't a part of the equation anymore.
So
there are a few teachers that use them for educational purposes.
Okay, that'd be up to that.
Well, they have their iPads.
Discretion.
Don't they have their iPads? What can they not do on their iPads?
Not all the apps work on an iPad that they use for. There are some apps on your phones that they.
Are you looking for a second?
Yeah, so we got.
Second it.
We got a motion by Director Sorkin to have no cell phone use in the class, as in no cell phone on your person. it's going to be in a caddy.
But yeah, put some.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Okay, so when you're talking about that, that means that the school district is purchasing caddies.
I guess
Because
I
we
would.
have to purchase a caddy that locks phones.
Why don't we just have our carpentry class, our kids make.
Why does it have,
something?
it has to be, if you're going to carry one, you can drop it on your teacher's desk.
Well, and
And if you're,
yeah.
and
I
if
think
you're
it's
not,
all-
if you're not comfortable doing that, you,
Do you mind, we've got some teachers here. Do you mind asking
Sure.
some opinions on that?
All right. How many teachers we got here? What's your opinion on this?
Because these teachers don't even have classrooms in these high schools, and they don't have desks. So you gotta have somewhere for them to put them, because they're out in the open like this.
well, you have a classroom
Yes.
that you're
But
teaching.
schools don't.
Well, that you're teaching in that hour.
Well, so just, you gotta make sure they have somewhere to put them, because they don't have desks.
Well, do you like the policy not having them have in their classroom or not?
I think that's fair,
To not have them, to have the policies or the handbook state no cell phones in the classroom?
no cell phone use.
Yeah.
I'm with Mr. Winters that if I buy my kid a phone and you're not providing locks, I don't want her to leave a phone in her locker.
Yeah.
So it should be in her backpack, you know.
Which is on her person,
But as a
but not
tea-
in use.
Exactly.
And as a teacher, do you think that cell phones are a distraction in the classroom?
We're all elementary teachers.
Oh.
I think they definitely.
Well, we'll let you talk for the high school for one time.
No, thanks.
I mean, I definitely think that they're a distraction.
Well, they are.
Yeah, and I definitely hear what Mr. Winters is saying about the social media and the bullying that happens on the phones in school and outside of school and into school. But I agree with John too. There's going to be pushback from parents that say, I bought my kid a cell phone for a reason, and I want them to have that cell phone, and parental choice. And, the other part about that too is teachers are going to be the ones having to police all that. What is going to be the consequence for the kids that pull out those cell phones and things? I mean.
Yeah, we have a whole.
They have consequences. First, second, and third offense. It's right there.
In the locking up and stuff like that. I mean, there's actually caddies that are pretty secure and locked up, but I think they're pretty expensive too, and you'd have to have an awful lot of them.
So, I mean, you can say that no cell phone use, it can be on your person, in your backpack, but you cannot use it.
No cell phone.
And then if they do, we
cell phone
need to
use.
enforce,
Then
we need to enforce the discipline.
Well, and I think there's also sometimes issues between teachers that allow it and teachers who are very, strict on not allowing it.
But that would eliminate.
If it would eliminate some of that if you say no cell phone use in the classroom.
So no cell phone use in the classrooms, and maybe even just they need to be off in the classrooms. So,
The other thing,
go ahead.
The other thing you're competing against is PSEO. I mean, these kids are, you're closing lunch. So the kids that are going PSEO, they can do whatever they want. They can have their phones. Some might say, well, if I want to be, a little more
independent,
I'm just going to go to college instead.
More freedom.
They're going to do that because of their cell phone. Come on.
Oh, can't believe it.
Yeah,
we're talking about it.
Yeah, you can't believe what the tipping point could be. I mean, college doesn't start till 10. I can get another 2 hours of sleep. I can do an online course.
That's right.
So it's not going to make somebody's decision, but it could be a T-chart where they're going to say, well, I'll just go to college instead of coming to high school.
There's a lot of tipping points, John, that people make that decision to go PSEO.
I wouldn't want the school district to be responsible for all those cell phones. If somebody goes through lockers and takes cell phones and the lockers aren't locked.
So I'm not proposing.
I don't.
I'm not proposing the locker. I'm not proposing. We discussed that, putting them in a locker.
So we're going back to the no cell phone use.
Let's just leave it at that and let's work out the details, okay? And just no cell phone use during class.
Okay, all right, so you're going to.
In the classroom. That's
no cell phone use in the classroom. Okay, so you're going to retract your little friendly amendment to say no phones on your person.
just said
No cell phones in the classroom,
No
so they
cell
can have
phones in
them,
the classroom.
they can have them on their person.
Okay, that's how that policy's written.
Out.
Am I right, Mark? No cell phone use in the classroom?
No, it says that,
There's some teacher discretion involved.
yes, it's teacher.
Okay, all right.
So we're taking away the teacher discretion and stating there's no cell phone use in the classroom.
Okay.
Is that correct? Am I hearing that correctly?
That's my intention.
That's
Yeah.
what the proposal is?
And I don't know what no use means. Can they be on, but they're not using them?
Well, they can be on, but, yeah, well, what's wrong,
The kids have them on silent anyways because of their snacks.
yeah, who cares if they're on or not on them?
Well, I'm just saying, they're,
Okay, so I get a motion to approve 9.5.
But we need to know what we're voting for. Is it no cell phone use in the classroom and taking away
That's-
teacher discretion?
yeah.
That's my.
So that it's
understanding right
consistent
now.
throughout the
We're
school?
taking away- The only change is the no cell phone use in the classroom.
Currently, we would replace the sentence that says cell phone use during class is determined by each individual teacher for educational purposes only.
Right.
We would change that to cell phone use is not allowed during class period.
Can you give or even you guys, could somebody give an example of when they're using their cell phones for educational purposes?
There are different apps that come on phones that you can't get on an iPad. It's things like that.
Are you assuming that all students have phones in the classroom?
Can't assume that and not all do.
Okay, so how can a teacher say, well, get out your cell phone now because we don't have an app on the iPad? And we have some students that don't have
But you
cell
can work with
phones.
partners and
Well.
collaborate with other people.
So,
No cell phone use during the class, and I would just assume that we say that they have to be off. If they're going to be by their desks or in their backpacks, okay, we aren't going to buy expensive caddies, that's one, whatever, but
I mean, can.
use them and have them off during class.
we got a lot of business.
We do.
So let's-
But Noel, is it possible to find out how many teachers do actually use cell phones for educational purposes?
We can easily.
And adjust it accordingly?
We can easily find it out on the app thing. The teachers who are like using certain apps, they like using those apps. There are other apps on that iPad that probably would come close
Right.
to what these teachers are trying to accomplish. Here's what you're going to experience, depending what you do. You're going to have most of your teachers cheering and applauding because cell phones are a distraction in the classroom. Schools are slowly cracking down on cell phone use, and they're having success with it. You're going to have issues, though. You're going to have to support the teachers when parents complain to you about why my kid can't use the cell phone in the classroom, because their teachers are going to hear this a lot. You're going to have to support your teachers if you vote on this, and do not underestimate the intensity that you're going to get from some of these students, especially juniors and seniors and sophomores are going to have a hard time with this. They'll adjust if this is what you want to do.
You know, just like the dress code, we have all kinds of rules and regulations in school. So let them push. Yes, I fully intend to support the teachers, and this is what our job is, to make policy and to support it.
The other thing is, if this passes tonight, it goes in the handbook. And if it turns into a hornet's nest, at a future board meeting, we can go back to, we can change it to anything we want later.
Yep.
So, what we want to approve is no cell phones in the classroom. Okay.
No cell phone use, right?
No cell phone use in the classroom.
I believe that's because.
Okay.
That's my intent. I would like to go further and just have them off, but that's fine. No cell phones. Satisfied with that.
All those in, with all that discussion, all those in, or no, we got a motion by Director Sorkin, support by Director Reardon. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Oppose?
No.
No was
Brandy
and John.
It is.
I would like more input from, I'd like.
Well, we
more
can
input.
find out. Believe you me.
Make a
Afraid to go home
decision.
tonight, I tell you that.
Well, I'd rather
Senior in the basement.
get more information from, how they're using it for educational purposes.
We already voted, so.
The vote's done.
Okay, let's,
And I mean,
And if it-
I guarantee they're a distraction, but, yeah.
Okay.
I look at how many people are losing to PSEO, and I just think, and my son talks to his buddies that are so much more independent than he is, and it's a real thing.
We get a lot of pushback, then we can revisit it.
They'll get over it.
What's that?
They'll get over it.
I wouldn't
There's
say
rules and
that. I mean, that's
regulations
kind
all
of a condescending way to.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
They'll
they'll
get
get
over
used to it. Okay, they'll get used to it.
it's for,
Just like you telling me, pay attention.
let's move on.
Well, you weren't paying attention, but anyway, 9.6.
I have one more question on page 23 about sports and activities. It says all other non-Minnesota State High School League activities, no policy for any student grades 7 through 12? What does that mean? I only asked that because I saw it perusing, and we did get some, we had a person talk today, we got a letter from her about summer athletics and having tryouts or no tryouts. And so I'm wondering if that would come under all non-MS State High School League, no policy for any students. I think what she made a good point there about tryouts and not tryouts, and we have tryouts for school year activities and athletics, but as I understand, we didn't for summer, and so maybe we need to take a look at that.
But the summer, Polly, the summer sportings are done by U12, U10, has nothing to do with the school,
Okay. Isn't it-
generally speaking.
But if there's community ed.
Community ed, it's run.
Coaches, girls and t-ball. I mean, they know who's,
I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm bringing it up.
Yeah.
There's no consistent.
they know to make an average, or to make even teams, they've had these same kids for how many years?
And
So the summer
the
and
activities
school
committee as well.
is comparing apples to oranges, is what you're saying, John?
Well, I'm just saying, as far as tryouts go, I mean, they've had these same girls for so many years. They can put together an even teams, just knowing the girls being around so long.
So what? I mean, isn't tryouts, what if we had somebody new come into the district? We have different rates of maturing and, getting taller or getting more coordinated, so I think she made a valid point, and I was just asking the question, what do we do with summer? Because some of it is community ed programs, right? And that is school districts.
Right.
Maybe let's just keep that on the, and go forward.
I can help you out on that one. I believe the situation you're all thinking about, they will do tryouts next year.
Coach said he'd do it.
We're going to lose coaches, what we're going to do. I mean, that's.
But ultimately,
It's all volunteering.
It's all volunteer.
all volunteer.
Yeah, and
Coaches
it's-
calls, and right, you're not in charge of the AAU program.
So how much is community ed? It's not at all community ed, the summer programs?
Oh, no, there's all sorts of summer programs that our community ed has nothing to do with.
Okay, so that one doesn't have anything to do with community ed, huh? The one we got our letter on?
Part of it did not have, we don't control AAU. Part of it did. And I just said that that individual in that situation will do tryouts next year to help take care of
And
this.
shouldn't it be kind of universal, consistent across the board? You said that one person will, will it be a policy of our whole school district to do it that way?
And it's no different than, I was a Little League coach. I took a bunch of kids to an Edward Ice tournament in Aurora. I put together 10 kids that could play. There was no tryouts, just, here's 10 kids that are available this weekend that could play of that age. It's something I did on my own.
I know, I'm talking about school-related stuff.
Yeah, well.
School-related, community.
School-related, most of the, I'm guessing, most of the teams have tryouts.
Most of them, but please do not tell community ed to have tryouts for all of the events that they run. We're not, that means you're telling us to be trying out 5-year-olds, 4-year-olds.
No, they said elementary, it didn't involve elementary, it was the upper grades. That's what the thing was.
I know that, but community ed runs a lot of other programs besides.
Right.
I don't think you're going to have an issue in this situation next year.
Okay, well, I just brought it up, we should look at it, and if we need to change our handbook, I think.
Okay, 9.6, we'll move along.
Did we actually pass the whole handbook, or did we just adjust the,
You still need to approve the entire handbook.
yes.
Are you
I'll make-
gentlemen
okay.
done with your?
Approve the, I'll make the motion to approve the student handbook with the, what passed.
I'll second it.
Okay, so motion by Lotiger, support by Director Westby, to approve the handbook with the changes made, no cell phone use in the classroom.
Is that just the high school handbook or both of them?
No,
The high school.
this is the high school, as it
Okay.
says.
Yeah, okay, that's number 5.
So all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passes 6-0. We'll move along to 9.6.
I have a quick question. How many students have requested parking passes?
We've been telling everyone just to hold off.
Okay, then that's good.
We've had, that is the.
You have bigger dragons to slay, okay.
We are hoping to get the parking passes this week.
Okay,
As soon as we get them, we will put them out for sale for seniors first. Ideally, it'll be seniors for a week, juniors for a week, and then open to everyone after that, so.
super, thank you.
Yep.
So,
9.6, to consider approval of the elementary 2023-24 elementary handbook. Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Director Lotiger,
I'll second it.
support by Director Westby. Any discussion?
do we have a cell phone policy in that one?
I have no idea.
They're not allowed.
Okay, so that's good.
Yeah. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6. I'm just going to say unanimously, okay?
Okay.
How's that sound?
Right.
Okay, 9.7, consider approval of equity plan. Can I get a motion?
I will make that motion.
By Director Lotiger,
Support.
support by Director Reardon. Any discussion?
I would think that because our full board isn't here, and it's probably a real important thing to vote on, that we defer this to a meeting when all board members are present, and including Nicole, because I think it's an important one, and we've done that before, waiting for all.
I don't remember doing that ever before.
I mean, either.
We did, and with Gilbert did.
That's it. That's.
And
It's not unheard of.
we've had multiple meetings on the equity plan. We've had community meetings about the equity plan. We've also had a work study on the equity
Yeah.
plan.
Let's just move forward, yeah.
Any discussion? Any more discussion?
Yeah, I have a lot of discussion. Okay, our equity plan, first of all, why do we need this as part of our strategic plans? I know this was extra,
That's true.
the last facet of the whole thing that you put together. Why do we need an equity portion of this?
Let me back up a little bit, that I put together. The school board put together the strategic plan, and you approved it. Yes, I was managing the process.
Yeah, you did.
And in doing so, you saved $30,000 by having me.
That's fine, but we approved it.
So-
You did all the work, I'll give you the credit, you did.
I don't want credit. I want you to pass the equity plan.
I'm asking why we need this part of it.
Here's why. The equity plan in front of you, this is not a complex equity plan. When you look at other districts' equity plan, this is very simple. It's not complex. There's a lot of things in here. At the work study plan session, you talked about it. You told me there were a couple of things you weren't comfortable with. I took them out. One of them had to do with restorative practices. There was concern about some restorative practices, that it was too prominent. And so then you had Heather Davidson Teff came here. She was right in front talking to you about what restorative practices were. And so I changed the wording on it. It's simply a tool that someone could use. I added the part about the good old-fashioned discipline is still in there. It's just simply a tool. So I changed that. Second thing that I heard some concerns about were about hiring diverse staff. I removed that from the rubric, so that's no longer in the rubric as far as a goal for us to hire diverse staff in the rubric. At the work study, I didn't hear anything else about any other concerns, so I didn't modify or change anything else. And this equity includes gender. It includes a lot of different things. It includes having kids take high-level courses, all sorts of kids. And frankly, on behalf of your students, and you have over 2,000 students and your staff, I'm asking for you to pass the equity plan. It's not a complex
I
plan.
know, but why do we need it? Don't we have equity in our district? And equity is different than equality. Do we not have equality in our district? This is a big, here, my bottom line is, this is a.
If you have it, what's the big deal with having a plan? If you've already got it.
Please not interrupt me.
Just
Finish, please. This equity, this whole thing, and I'll point out the parts that are egregious, and I'll tell you why, is a political statement. This takes a very specific political.
In your view.
Opinion and your perspective, and I think
And I'll
taking some action that's political here.
Would you please not talk over me, Miss
Let's move on. Tell us why you.
Miss Kindness Fairy? I'm sorry, you're not being very kind to me.
That was disrespectful.
Not being very kind to me, and you're talking over me, and a lot of times you
Please.
throw digs at me, and I'm not going to take
Continue.
it. I'll tell you, okay, here. We still do have, Mr. Restorative circles are still in here. Options of restorative circles, restorative justice, restorative discipline, and practices. We talk about diversity. We want anti-racism policies. It's still in here. Equity literacy. What is equity literacy? Is it teaching students certain political ideologies?
No.
Well, tell me, what does it mean now? What does equity literacy mean?
I'll be happy to tell you. Equity literacy means that when you're an English teacher, for example, and you're going through your reading assignments you're going to give to the kids, just take a look at maybe there's somebody who wrote something from Southeast Asia or from Africa or South America. Maybe there's something that you should put in the reading curriculum. That's called equity. Because people wrote great things who were non-Caucasian.
We don't have that now? Our teachers don't do this? Take a
This encourages your staff and tells you, yes, we want you to do this.
And
I think more so it tells the staff that, yes, you can do this and there won't be repercussion.
you know, the whole word diversity is very politically charged, and it's all throughout here about diversity here and there. And I think we do have about staff here, Noel, about inclusive staff, something about staff. Hiring specific individuals for equity, embedding multicultural curriculum. There's something in here too about diverse staff. Okay, we have 5 people for a teaching job, and one happens to be black and the others are white. Well, are we going to pick that person because of their skin color, or are they the best teacher for us to hire? So when it's talking about diverse hiring in here, that to me, that's got to be explained to me and assured that that's not what it means for, you know, this to.
Are you picking out just color?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of diversity in male, female, white.
Are we going to do that too?
I mean, Caucasian,
one male,
African American.
Yeah.
Our
Native American.
Our hiring policies are is we hire the best teachers for the position. End of conversation.
Page 50 says intentional hiring and retention for diversity.
I mean, what's disturbing to me is the emails we get, all skin color, black, brown, Negro. For some reason, Negro gets picked on a lot in these emails we got. Now, you just said, black. We're going to hire them because they're black. Why does the black person have to get picked on here?
I'll say Native American.
No, but you didn't. I mean, because the emails we get.
I think we're getting off a track here.
I know, but I'm just getting sick of. I'm getting sick of these emails and this.
Yeah.
It's like the Negro gets picked on here because it's never like.
I haven't gotten any of those emails.
I've read the recent one we got that mentions brown.
Well, I don't.
Brown skin color.
Okay.
I mean,
Anyway.
Again,
Intentional hiring,
I'm just sorry.
intentional hiring and retention for diversity. We're talking about this policy now, okay?
Mr. Chair, I'm going to call for the question.
I'll support.
Okay. All those in favor?
So you want to cut off discussion? I haven't even,
Favor. signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
It was
You mean,
I oppose.
You opposed? So
Yes.
It's 4-2.
4-2.
In favor of.
Now we have to pass the motion.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor of the calling of the question, the calling of the question has happened. We're going to go to approve the equity plan. Can I get a motion to?
I will make the motion to approve the equity plan.
Oh, you already did. You already.
I already did that.
Okay, all right.
And I seconded it.
Excuse me. All those in favor of approving the 9.7 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
Motion passes 4-2. All right, moving on to 9.8. Consider approval of amendment between teachers on call in Rockridge Public Schools. Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Director Yuan, support by Director Reardon. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 9.9, consider approval of establishing Rockridge High School Activity Fund for the Miners National Bank of Evelyn with Mark Winter, Josh Lampard, William Hazelton as signers. Can I get a motion for that?
Make a motion.
Motion by Director Yuhan.
I second it.
Second by Director Westby. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 9.10, consider approval to change ISD 2054 general account to ISD 2909 at Miners National Bank of Evelyn with William Addy, Brandy Lodiger, and Nicole Colbert-Dahl as signers. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion.
Motion by Director Westby, support by Director Reardon. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 9.11, consider approval of concurrent enrollment contract between Rockridge Public Schools and Lake Superior College effective June 30, 2024.
I will make that motion.
Motion by Director Lodiger.
Support.
Support by Director Yuhan. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 9.12, consider approval of income contact for post-secondary enrollment options between Minnesota North College and Rockridge Public Schools effective for the 2023-24 academic year.
Make that motion.
Motion by Director Yuhan.
Support.
Support by Director Reardon. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sorry. Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. 9.13, consider approval of renewal of food service contract for the school year 2023-2024.
I'll make a motion.
I second it.
Director Reardon, support by Director Westby. The discussion will be that this is just for 1 year. 1 year.
1 year.
Then after that, we're going.
Bill's going to be head chef.
That's right. That's right. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 9.14, you got this at the table. It's the license agreement between Vita and the school district to use their parking lot for parking for, when does that expire? At the end of January or end of December?
Yes, and this normally would not have come to you at the last minute, but school is starting. We just received this. This is actually great that Vita is willing to work with you and let you use the parking lot. We've talked with our insurance carrier. You're good on that. It's covered. It's going to cost you $50 to add a rider to this. They're simply, we can use the parking lot. This includes football games, anything else at night. They're really not asking for much other than we just keep the parking lot cleared and let them know if any of the lights don't work. This is good. Now, either party can stop within 30 days, but it's through December 31st, 2023. I see you looking at that, Director Addy. Hopefully, we will know what's happening with the 1404 building by then.
Okay.
But this is a really nice gesture for them to do for us.
I just hope it doesn't put us in a jam January 1st or after winter break. They come back and got to find a new place to park.
Yep.
He's such a pessimist.
I am. Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Director Lotiger, support by Bearden. Any more discussion?
I would just say that we make sure we put some handicap spots on that
Yep.
for the football area. We only have a couple on that south side, so we can, even temporary or during football games, make some of those handicap for football.
Okay, we will talk to Vita about this, see if, I think they'll be okay with it, but, yep.
So one question, clarification. So if Vita sells that building to somebody, and I know this is only till December, but otherwise it says a 30-day notice, so.
Then whoever they sell the building to, within 60 seconds, I'm going to be calling them up and talking to them about us using that parking lot.
Same deal, okay.
Okay. Motion by Director Lotiger, support by Director Reardon to approve 9.14. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Meeting announcements. Our next regular meeting will be August 28th here at 6 o'clock at the administrative building. I get a motion to adjourn.
I make a
Oh, you got them all.
Motion by Director Westby.
Support.
Support by Director Lotiger. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.